Good morning. I'm your host, and welcome to the Stylo News Intelligence Update for June 18th, 2026. Today, we're taking a close, objective look at the compounding security and health crises currently unfolding in Central Africa. In this explainer, we'll calmly review the data, analyze the primary patterns of events, and map out the impacts at the local, national, and international levels. Let's get right to the facts. Before we begin the briefing, a quick note that this update is sponsored by ProWave AI, the developers of Stylo Intel Ops. Their AI-powered open-source intelligence program, along with its commercial counterpart, Stylo News, allows us to aggregate, analyze, and present these complex regional events to you with absolute clarity and speed. Here is the docket for today's briefing. We'll start by establishing a Central Africa security baseline, then we'll examine the convergence of conflict and health in the region. Third, we'll look at regional tensions and the differing perspectives of key decision-makers. Fourth, we'll review public sentiment and provide a near-term forecast. And finally, we'll guide you toward our deeper analysis. Let's begin. Section 1. Central Africa Security Baseline. Right now, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, specifically its eastern provinces like North Kivu, South Kivu, and Ituri, serves as the primary epicenter of regional instability. The surrounding nations are deeply impacted by the ripple effects of what happens in this specific geographic pocket. To provide a neutral, objective baseline, let's detail the stability of the 5 key nations in this theater. Starting at the top, Uganda is assessed as stable at the regime level, but exposed. It's facing elevated stress from an Ebola outbreak crossing its border, alongside the enduring threat of ADF militant infiltration. Rwanda is internally stable, with strong state control, but it faces severe strategic exposure and diplomatic pressure regarding the M23 insurgency. Burundi is conditionally stable. The government is in control, but it remains structurally fragile due to its proximity to eastern DRC and the risk of being drawn into proxy conflicts. The Central African Republic remains fragile and unstable outside its capital, dealing with a chronic militia presence. And finally, the DRC itself is classified as highly unstable, managing overlapping insurgencies, public health emergencies, mob unrest, and weak governments in its eastern territories. Moving to Section 2, Conflict and Health Convergence. First, we need to identify the primary insurgent actors shaping this environment. The M23 rebellion operates primarily in the Kivu theater. They're currently the most militarily significant insurgent force, controlling or heavily influencing major urban centers like Goma and Bukavu, while repositioning their forces. The ADF, which is aligned with the Islamic State Central Africa province, operates along the eastern DRC and Uganda border. They present a persistent jihadist threat with cross-border reach. And the FDLR is an active anti-Rwanda militia operating in eastern DRC. Their presence remains a core driver of interstate tension between Kinshasa and Kigali. Now, a worsening Ebola outbreak centered around Bunia and Ituri province in the DRC is physically overlapping with the operational terrain of these exact militant groups. Uganda has had to elevate its response measures as far away as Kampala. The key takeaway here is that this is no longer strictly a public health event. Armed conflict is actively degrading containment access, which turns an epidemic into a profound security multiplier. To put this convergence into perspective, we've tracked verified reports of a local mob recently burning down an Ebola hospital ward in the Congo. This illustrates a stark reality on the ground. Public health interventions in conflict zones can inadvertently trigger severe anti-authority unrest. Communities are reacting with suspicion, and when health workers are attacked or infrastructure is destroyed, it creates a dangerous vacuum where both the disease and insurgent opportunism can thrive. Section 3. Regional Tensions and Perspectives. The regional tension right now is anchored by 2 opposing national security perspectives. On one side, the government in Kinshasa focuses heavily on the M23 insurgency. Their perspective is that M23's territorial control and aggression are directly enabled by Rwandan military support. On the other side, the government in Kigali views the FDLR, a militia with historical ties to the 1994 genocide, as a core existential national security threat. Rwanda points to the FDLR's continued presence and alleged cooperation with the Congolese military as unacceptable. We present both views impartially, as these competing narratives are precisely what is fueling broader Great Lakes proxy tensions. Recently, we have tracked a rapid succession of escalations. First, a major Qatar-linked ceasefire deadline was missed, which eroded hopes for an immediate pause in hostilities. Following that, the United States imposed targeted sanctions on figures linked to both M23 and the FDLR, applying balanced diplomatic pressure but definitely causing ripples across the region.
Most significantly, Burundi has deployed approximately 1,300 troops into South Kivu in the DRC to support Congolese forces. This specific maneuver underscores that the eastern DRC conflict is rapidly regionalizing and drawing in neighboring militaries.
Section 4. Sentiment and Near-Term Forecast.
Our AI-driven open-source monitoring has synthesized sentiment across social media. We're seeing a high volume of discussion around the DRC, Ebola, and M23. The broad, common viewpoint is one of deep public anxiety. There is noticeable panic regarding Ebola travel restrictions and the fear of the disease spreading into urban centers. Furthermore, we're tracking a rise in unverified rumors and disinformation, with some narratives falsely linking health containment measures to foreign mineral trafficking. This kind of disinformation is a critical indicator of potential localized unrest.
Consolidating the intelligence community's estimates, this is the consensus warning for the region. The most likely near-term deterioration pathway is a compound crisis in eastern DRC driven by armed group maneuver, disease outbreak disruption, and localized anti-foreign unrest. It's a precise, sobering assessment. It points not to a massive interstate war, but to a complex, multifaceted breakdown of local stability.
Based on this assessment, here is your clear watch list of events to monitor in the immediate future. Watch for M23 forces repositioning around the mineral hub of Rubaya and near Uvira. Monitor the daily cross-border Ebola transmission rates, particularly any spread into Kampala. Look out for any military friction or proxy clashes involving those newly deployed Burundian troops in South Kivu. And finally, remain alert to any sudden protests or mob unrest near foreign-linked health or diplomatic facilities, driven by the disinformation we identified earlier.
Section 5. Deeper Analysis. To fully understand the scope of the past 2 weeks of events, I encourage you to listen to today's complete Stylo News Intel Update Morning podcast. The episode is titled Proxy Wars and Ebola Pandemic Risks, the Central Africa Security Brief. You can find it right now on your favorite audio channel or simply follow the link provided in the description of this explainer.
Thank you for taking the time to join this morning's briefing. As we continue to watch these events unfold, the crucial question remains: can regional diplomacy and health interventions somehow outpace the speed of these compounding crises? For continuous, AI-powered open-source news on demand, make sure to subscribe and visit us at stylonews.com. Have a safe, informed day, and we'll see you next time.